And now, ladies and gentlemen, from the heart of the Inland Empire, right here in sunny Southern California, it's Robert Cardoza Live, where we talk about politics, money, and you. This is the intersection of business and politics. And now here's your host, Robert Cardoza.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza Live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. And just in case I forgot, I should have said, hey, welcome aboard. Yeah, you know what? Here we are. It's Friday. It's the end of another great week. Lots of news. You know, ever since Donald Trump got elected president of the United States, we've had nothing but news. So we're going to be talking about that today. We'll talk about what's in the news, new legislation, the IRS Loses. We'll do our new segment, the tribute to the late great Paul Harvey, and the rest of the story. Today's story is No Coward. Yeah, you're going to want to hear about that. It's got a twist on it. And then, we'll be talking to our own Jon Matthews, Joe Hakos, and I. We'll be talking about conservative politics. We're going to be talking about a lot of things today, obviously. And then later on this afternoon, David Garrett will be here with Garrett on the Law. We'll see what he's got prepared for us. Right now, I want you to know that at 3:01 p.m. Pacific time, it's currently 63 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. It's on its way down to 52 degrees, and we're expecting rain any minute. It just seems to me it's kind of bright outside. I don't know where the rain's going to come from, but that's what they're saying. We're going to get rain any single minute. Well, you know what? Right now, let's talk about the news. Boy, we got a lot of it, so there's no way to get it all covered. Our president gives us more news every day than what we can actually cover. He puts it out there faster than we can read it. Anyway, the White House seeks to regroup after a stinging legal defeat. Seeking to regroup after a stinging legal defeat, President Donald Trump said today that he's considering signing a brand new order after his refugee and immigration travel ban was halted in court. Trump, speaking to reporters on Air Force One as he flew to Florida for the weekend, said that he expected his administration to win the legal battle over his original directive. But he said the White House was also weighing other alternatives, including making changes to the order, which suspended the nation's refugee program and barred all entries from 7 Muslim-majority countries. The president said a new executive order would likely change very little from the first. Trump's comments came a day after the 9th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals upheld a restraining order on the original travel ban. A White House official suggested that the administration was not planning to immediately ask the Supreme Court to overturn that order and would instead argue for its constitutionality in the lower courts, though the official cautioned that the next steps were not finalized and could change. Truth is, there's very few things that he has to change in order to get that order to be passed without any kind of issue at all. And you know what? That seems like the simplest, easiest way to do these things is just get ego out of the way. It's not time for ego. Well, after a win, the travel ban opponents seek another court victory. Opponents of President Donald Trump's travel ban sought today to rack up another legal victory against the measure, believing that they have the administration on the defensive after a federal appeals court refused to reinstate the order. As government attorneys debated their next move, they faced unsympathetic judges on both coasts. The San Francisco-based 9th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals sided Thursday with the states of Washington and Minnesota in refusing to reinstate the ban, opening the possibility that the case could advance to the United States Supreme Court. Well, today, a federal judge in Virginia also seemed inclined to rule against the administration in a different challenge. For his part, Trump said today that he is considering signing a brand new order while the ban is held up in court. Speaking to reporters on Air Force One as he flew to Florida for the weekend, the president said that he expected his administration to win the legal battle over his original directive, but he said the White House was also weighing other alternatives, including making changes to the order which suspended the nation's refugee program and barred all entries from 7 Muslim majority countries. That's what ought to happen. You know what the dumb thing is? That stupid order should never have gone out the way it was anyway. Anybody would have been able to see that there was going to be a problem with it. The fix was simple. And you know what? The real fix now is simple too. What they got to do is fire the idiot legal mind from the Department of Justice that went in to defend this order. It's like he hadn't even gotten out of law school yet, for Pete's sake. I don't know what his big problem is, but he couldn't even talk to the justices. He sounded like a non-graduate. He sounded like an infant. Anyway, Trump hugs the ally Japan after easing U.S.-China tensions. President Donald Trump, fresh off patching up ties with China, reassured Japan's leader today that the United States will defend its close ally. Together, the pronouncements illustrated a shift toward a more mainstream Trump stance on U.S. policy toward Asia, welcoming Prime Minister Shinzo Abe to the White House with a hug. Trump said that he wants to bring the post-World War II alliance with Japan even closer. While such calls are ritual after these types of meetings, from Trump, they're sure to calm anxieties that he has stroked by demanding that America's partners pay more for their own defense. Well, Abe, the nationalist adept at forging relationships with self-styled strongmen overseas, was the only world leader to meet with the Republican before his inauguration. He is now the second to do so since Trump took office. Flattering the billionaire businessman, Abe said that he would welcome the United States becoming even greater. He also invited Trump to visit Japan this year. Trump accepted, according to a joint statement. Other leaders of America's closest neighbors and allies, such as Mexico, Britain, and Australia, have been singed by their encounters, or singed by their encounters or conversations by Trump. So we'll see what actually happens there. It seems to me that he singes them, and then he just brings them on in, They'll all wind up, they have to be friends of the United States. They haven't got any choice, really. Here's the deal. Trump backs his aide who promoted his daughter's fashion on TV. Kellyanne Conway, the high-profile White House counselor, has come under fire from Democratic and Republican lawmakers, fact checkers, and the media. But she's so far maintained the support of her boss, President Donald Trump. Trump backed Conway both publicly and privately Thursday after House Oversight Committee Chairman Jason Chaffetz, a Republican from Utah, criticized her promoting Ivanka Trump's fashion line during a television appearance and urged the Office of Government Ethics to review the matter. White House spokesman Sean Spicer said Conway had been counseled on her comments, but he would not expand on what that entailed. The president appeared to take issue with his own press secretary's depiction, telling staff that he believed it was unfair to Conway to make it sound as though she was in trouble, according to a person with direct knowledge of his comments. A White House spokeswoman said that while Trump didn't see Conway's television comments urging people to buy Ivanka Trump's products, he believed that she was merely sticking up for his daughter after the Nordstrom chain dropped her brand. Well, you know what? That's the way I see it, too. It's kind of, are they going to just pick on every stupid, silly thing? That's what it appears to be, doesn't it? They haven't got enough things going on in this world. There aren't enough people being died and massacred that we have to be talking about this kind of stuff. Boy, what a waste. Anyway, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to talk about protest march public school visit by the new education secretary. You're going to want to hear this, so don't go away. We'll be right back. I'll tell you all about it.
If you want to increase your client base and sales, then consider this, the Relationship Building Network at RBN. Given the current economic conditions and challenges, we all need to work smarter, make smarter decisions, invest our hard-earned dollars where it'll yield the best return for our investment. Many business professionals claim that the most effective networking group in Orange County is RBN. No other networking group or organization can offer what RBN offers. Make every year your best year. Join RBN and start reaping the benefits today. Nearly 3,000 businesses have joined RBN and experienced those benefits. Why join RBN? It's one group. It's one membership. It's no renewals. It's all through Orange County. RBN is a freestyle networking group. No mandatory attendance, no restrictions, no rules, and no penalties. Call them at 949-830-5776 or go to their website at rbninfo.com. That's 949-830-5776. If you've ever dreamed of having your own business to make your life secure, you know Water's Edge Wineries might be just the ticket. In 2004, their founder, Ken Lineberger, created the first winery franchise in California. It was a new concept with all of the functionality of a traditional winery, but without the vineyards. They purchase high-quality grape must from one of the largest winemaking companies in the world. Then they craft each wine carefully and bottle it right at their location. The winery was built to satisfy consumer demand for wine by the bottle and by the glass, but still kept the element of allowing customers to bottle their own custom vintage. Now, they're opening urban wineries across the United States under the brand Water's Edge Wineries. If you've ever dreamed of owning your own winery, it may be in reach right now through Water's Edge Wineries. Just give them a call at 909-468-9463, extension 700. That's Water's Edge Wineries, 909-468-9463. Have you ever found yourself caught between a rock and a hard place? The law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett might be just the answer for you. The attorneys of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett have been serving the Inland Empire since 1989. They're dedicated to the aggressive litigation of civil, criminal, and real estate matters. Over the years, they have recovered tens of millions of dollars for their clients. The firm's practice specializes in litigation of personal injury, accident, slip and fall, real estate, and criminal law cases. The firm provides clients with the care, accuracy, and dedication of experienced attorneys. Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett is located at 10300 4th Street, Suite 150 in Rancho Cucamonga, California. They've been providing the Inland Empire residents with outstanding legal services for over 25 years. They look forward to providing you with aggressive legal representation. Call them at 909-945-5000, where you can talk to a person, not a machine. That's 909-945-5000, the law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett. And now let's get back to our show where we talk about politics, money, and you.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza live on the street at the intersection of business and politics, where at 3:12 p.m. Pacific time, it's still 63 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. It's on its way down to 52 degrees. We're expecting some rain any minute. It's supposed to really come down, a big storm, but we haven't seen it yet. It was supposed to have happened earlier this morning, and here we are still waiting for it. We need the rain, so I'm not going to complain too much about it. I kind of like it. It's nice for a change. But, you know, a little bit later on, we'll give you some of the weather reports for our syndicated stations around the world. You'll find that interesting. But right now, let's continue with the news. And that is a protest march, a public school visit. Guess who? By the new education secretary. You betcha. Angry activists shouted, "Stand up, fight back," and one protester was arrested as Betsy DeVos made her first visit to a public school today as education secretary. Several dozen protesters, some with small children, gathered at Jefferson Middle School, a predominantly African-American school in the nation's capital. At one point, when DeVos tried to enter the school, two protesters blocked her path, forcing her to return to her car. D.C. police said one man was detained for assaulting a police officer. DeVos eventually made it inside the school in a visit that was designed to help her mend fences with teachers and parents across the country following a contentious confirmation battle. DeVos praised the school for its hard work and innovative approaches to teaching and vowed to strengthen public education. But she also had some tough words for the protesters. "I respect peaceful protest, and I will not be deterred in executing the vital mission of the Department of Education," DeVos said in a statement. "No school door in America will be blocked from those seeking to help our nation's school children." DeVos, 59 years old, is a billionaire Republican donor who spent more than 2 decades promoting charter schools and school voucher programs in her home state of Michigan and other states. She faced fierce opposition during the confirmation process from teachers' unions who fear that she intends to defund traditional public schools. 2 Republican senators from rural states that rely heavily on public schools opposed the nomination of Vice President Mike Pence. And Vice President Mike Pence had to cast a tie-breaking vote on Tuesday to get DeVos into her seat. Well, DeVos's visit itself was not advertised by the Education Department and was closed to the news media. Besides the arrest, police were investigating alleged allegation of assault on Secretary DeVos. Wow. You know what? She's been pretty vocal. People are going to be pretty mad. I see that coming, It's going to, nobody sees her as an advocate for education, I got to tell you. Anyway, Trump's comments likely to cause heartburn for U.S. lawyers. President Donald Trump lobs verbal bombshells on Twitter and fiercely criticizes federal judges overseeing his court cases. He openly discusses pending legal matters on which lawyers usually advise their clients to stay mum, or in other words, keep their mouth shut, right? Now, that freewheeling style, uncharacteristic for an American president, is sure to complicate efforts of Justice Department attorneys tasked with defending his executive actions in court. Federal lawyers, invariably inclined to speak through technical legal pleadings instead of on social media, are likely to be asked time and again to account for public statements from the president, including comments that seem to contradict or harm their arguments. This is what's so surprising about Trump's statements and his use of Twitter. He says all kinds of things that undermine the claims that the government is making in litigation, said Eric Posner, a University of Chicago law professor. People challenging the government will bring tweets and other statements to the attention of the courts, Posner said, and courts will pay attention to them. Yeah. You know what? This showed up predominantly in a legal fight over Trump's ban on refugees and immigration from 7 Muslim majority nations, which federal courts have put on hold. Yeah. You know what? You would think he's just instigating this just for the hell of it. We might as well just spend all the money we have on legal issues. This is crazy. Well, 17 are killed in a stampede at an Angolan football stadium. You know what? A crowd stampeded at a football stadium in Angola today, leaving at least 17 people dead and dozens injured. The accident happened in the northeastern town of Huge, I think it's called, when hundreds of people rushed at one of the stadium gates, causing some to fall and be trampled underfoot, according to Angolan and Portuguese media. Some of the dead were children who suffocated in the stampede. The Portuguese news agency Lusa said. Lusa and ANGAP, Angola's state-run news agency, reported a death toll of 17. Angolan President Jose Eduardo dos Santos expressed condolences to the families of the victims and instructed officials to assist the injured and open an investigation, ANGAP reported. Spectators had gone to the stadium to watch the inaugural game between home team Santa Rita de Cacia and Recreativo de Libolo in the national Girabola competition. Well, you know what? And now 17 people are dead. What the hell sense does that make? It makes none at all, that's for sure. Well, let me leave you with this one. In a shift, Trump tells Z that he will honor one China policy. Yes. You know what? President Donald Trump reaffirmed Washington's long-standing one China policy in a call with Beijing's leader, a move that could ease anger in China over his earlier suggestions that he might use Taiwan as leverage in negotiations over trade, security, and other sensitive issues. More than 2 months after deviating from decades of American diplomacy regarding Taiwan by accepting a phone call from the self-governing island's president, Trump appeared to be trying to reassure Beijing that he would not seek to upend relations between the world's 2 largest economies. This is an important step, said Bonnie Glasser, senior advisor on Asia at the Center for Strategic and International Studies in Washington, D.C. This will now pave the way for the engagement of the United States and Chinese governments on a wide range of issues. Well, you will see what happens. All of his policies seem to be a stretch and seem to be grabbing people unawares. Nobody knows what this man's going to do. There's a part of me that says he does know what he's doing, that he's calculating these things in such a way that he can use people's fear of what he might say or what he might do in a negotiation. And that very well could be the case. Anyway, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the IRS Loses. The first case up is a husband escapes a tax on his wife's income from a scam. And I'll tell you about it right after these brief messages.
Isn't it time to shine the spotlight on your expertise? The Interview, starring you. Here's your chance to capture 5 minutes of fame with The Interview. This isn't just any interview. This is your opportunity to showcase your expertise and position yourself as a trusted expert in a one-on-one video interview hosted by Robert Cardoza, host of the nationally syndicated show Robert Cardoza Live and powered by AHA Studios. What is it? A professionally recorded video for your use. Robert Cardoza interviews you on the set where he records his show. Professional interview showcases your expertise and value, shot in a state-of-the-art studio. And what's in it for you? Gain credibility as an expert, earn the trust of your target market, educate in a way that intrigues your audience, gain a powerful marketing tool that offers dozens of uses, website, video sharing sites, social media, email, DVDs, direct mail, lobby video, resumes, profile building, all that kind of stuff. Association with the nationally syndicated celebrity. That's right. And let's talk about AHA Studios. AHA is a strategic marketing firm that leverages the powerful and visual persuasion to help your business create powerful messages that connect with your target market. AHA ventures way beyond strategy, delivering the marketing collateral you need to start driving a new business through your doors. AHA has a full-service, in-house, state-of-the-art production studio to bring your messages to life using video. Discover how to make The Interview work for you. Call 949-831-2222. That's 949-831-2222. AHA Image Studios Incorporated. Dr. Stephen Tidwell, Gentle Family Dentistry in a caring, personalized environment. Here at Dr. Tidwell's office, we are dedicated to helping you keep your teeth healthy. We are a state-of-the-art dental practice that still believes in traditional values, such as excellent customer service and individual attention. We have a special welcoming offer for you for just $39, a complete exam, personal consultation, professional cleaning, and all necessary x-rays. That's a $266 value for $39. Dr. Tidwell has 2 convenient locations and experienced staff to provide you with professional care and personal attention that you deserve. Call today. Don't delay. A great smile another day. Call 909-944-7308. That's 909-944-7308 for Rancho Cucamonga or San Bernardino. Joel Saltzman is Dr. Wireless. He has turned his considerable expertise into consumer credit risk and wireless security into a highly specialized independent web-based consulting enterprise targeting consumer credit risk analysis and wireless transactional security and monitoring. He works as a wireless analyst, veteran independent agent, and consumer liaison for most wireless telecom carriers and equipment manufacturers. For more than 20 years, corporate and private clients and media audiences have counted on his unvarnished advice while weighing the technology, performance, and cost differences between Sprint, Nextel, AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile. Joel specializes in setting up mobile wireless hotspots to be used for disaster preparedness, business continuity, and mobile wireless merchant processing solutions. Call Dr. Wireless at 310-400-4900 or go to his webpage at drwireless.com. Again, call 310-400-4900 or his webpage at drwireless.com. You'll be glad you did. And now, back to our show.
The story you are about to see is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza Live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. And we're going to talk about the IRS Loses. We're going to just send the hairs up on the back of your neck with these. Let's get started right now. There's a husband that escapes the tax on his wife's income from a scam that she did. Well, Jack Eller's wife was a cashier at an airport parking lot who joined other employees in a scam that stole from it, stealing $90,000 herself. Now, the money was not reported on the joint tax return that she filed with Jack. Eventually, the scam was discovered. She was convicted. She and Jack divorced, and the IRS tried to collect tax from Jack on the unreported income. He protested that he had known nothing about this scam. But the IRS said that he had known about the unreported income. Well, he went to court. This is what the judge said. Jack said that he didn't know about the income. His wife said that he had known about the income, but not about her scam. Jack's testimony was the more credible, so he escapes the tax. Doesn't it just make sense? The IRS just wants to punish anybody that they can. You bet. Rightfully or not. How about this? The IRS loses. A lawsuit settlement was not changed to evade tax. Here's the case. David Jones owned a car dealership, sued its distributor, and received a large settlement for all claims. But soon afterward, the lawyers changed his terms to make it for his personal injuries, which was always the intent. Now, damages for personal injuries are tax-free. So Jones didn't report them as income. Later, he filed for bankruptcy, but the IRS said that his taxes weren't dischargeable because the change in the settlement was made to evade tax. He went to court to get some satisfaction. This is what the judge actually said. The IRS admitted that Jones actually had suffered personal injuries and that credibly testified that he believed the entire settlement was for them. So there was no attempt to evade tax. Shame on the IRS. Always shame on the IRS. Well, the IRS loses another case. They cannot force a change of courts. Here's the deal. Joyce Rainier sued the IRS in court of federal claims for a refund of an employment tax assessment that she had paid. Now, in response, the IRS filed a case against her and her partner in district court to collect even more of the tax that had been assessed against them 8 years earlier. Now, if asked to have the first case suspended, saying that the second was more efficient, since it covered both parties who could owe tax, possibly saving another court case. Well, Rainier wanted the second case suspended. Well, this is what the judge said. If the IRS was concerned about the efficiency, it could have filed its own case sometime within the prior 8 years before Rainier filed hers. Well, the first case continues, and the IRS is not going to get their way. Now, you've heard me talk about being a fly on the wall when the IRS does stuff. That's where we're at right now with this segment that we call Inside the IRS. It's very much like the Twilight Zone. Well, now, these are not tax court cases, but, you hear me say it all the time. I say it, in fact, I say it almost every day, that, knowledge is probably the most valuable commodity that you have. And knowing what the IRS is thinking, what they're doing, how they act is really important to you if you're going to be dealing with them. So that's where we're at right now with this case inside the IRS. Here's one for you. Going to jail for a tax crime, even if you reported all of your income. Can you imagine? Well, when the IRS can't prove that you filed or failed to report all of your income, it may still be able to prove that you committed a tax crime. So here's an alert for you. Small business owners have a tendency to hire employees off the books to save payroll taxes and avoid union assessments and attract foreign aliens not permitted to work in this country. If the IRS decides to pursue a criminal case, it's going to claim that the small business owner willfully aided and abetted in the filing of false payroll tax returns. Now, another crime the IRS is going to attempt to charge is obstruction of justice. If the person being audited tells his or her friends and business associates what to say or not to say, if they are contacted by the IRS, investigators, you bet, big trouble. How about this? Lawsuits against the largest accounting and law firms for faulty tax shelter advice. Boy, oh boy, there's getting more and more of that. Unhappy investors in tax shelters, structured by some of the biggest and most prestigious accounting firms and law firms in the country, have continued their lawsuits in state courts seeking recovery under favorable state laws. Now, here's some background for you. The big companies created very complex and exotic transactions designed to shelter income. When the IRS began to audit these deals, they were shown to be complex, uneconomic shams that simply generated tax savings. Investors are seeking damages for breach of fiduciary duty, fraud, negligent misrepresentation, breach of contract, and malpractice and civil conspiracy. So you can see that they're not going to get away with that. Not no way, no how, right? That's exactly what we're saying. Well, you know what? I want to remind you folks that you can get my app. It's absolutely free. Go to your app store and search Robert Cardoza Live. The app will pop up. Download it. Like I say, it's free. You'll be able to listen to our show 24/7. All of our archive shows will be there. And if we're broadcasting live like we are now, you'll be able to listen to us live and chat with us. So get that and tell your friends about it, too. Matter of fact, tell your friends about our show. I'd appreciate it. They'd appreciate it. And you'll be glad that you did that as well. Now, right now, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to be with Jon Matthews, Joe Hakos, and we're going to be talking about conservative politics. And boy, have we got a lot to talk about. So don't go away. We'll be right back.
If you want to increase your client base and sales, then consider this, the Relationship Building Network at RBN. Given the current economic conditions and challenges, we all need to work smarter, make smarter decisions, invest our hard-earned dollars where it'll yield the best return for our investment. Many business professionals claim that the most effective networking group in Orange County is RBN. No other networking group or organization can offer what RBN offers. Make every year your best year. Join RBN and start reaping the benefits today. You know, nearly 3,000 businesses have joined RBN and experienced those benefits. Why join RBN? It's one group. It's one membership. It's no renewals. It's all through Orange County. RBN is a freestyle networking group. No mandatory attendance, no restrictions, no rules, and no penalties. Call them at 949-830-5776 or go to their website at rbninfo.com. That's 949-830-5776. If you've ever dreamed of having your own business to make your life secure, you know Water's Edge Wineries might be just the ticket. In 2004, their founder, Ken Lineberger, created the first winery franchise in California. It was a new concept with all of the functionality of a traditional winery, but without the vineyards. They purchased high-quality grape must from one of the largest winemaking companies in the world. Then they craft each wine carefully and bottle it right at their location. The winery was built to satisfy consumer demand for wine by the bottle and by the glass, but still kept the element of allowing customers to bottle their own custom vintage. Now, they're opening urban wineries across the United States under the brand Water's Edge Wineries. If you've ever dreamed of owning your own winery, it may be in reach right now through Water's Edge Wineries. Just give them a call at 909-468-9463, extension 700. That's Water's Edge Wineries, 909-468-9463. Have you ever found yourself caught between a rock and a hard place? The law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett might be just the answer for you. The attorneys of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett have been serving the Inland Empire since 1989. They're dedicated to the aggressive litigation of civil, criminal, and real estate matters. Over the years, they have recovered tens of millions of dollars for their clients. The firm's practice specializes in litigation of personal injury, accident, slip and fall, real estate, and criminal law cases. The firm provides clients with the care, accuracy, and dedication of experienced attorneys. Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett is located at 10300 4th Street, Suite 150 in Rancho Cucamonga, California. They've been providing the Inland Empire residents with outstanding legal services for over 25 years. They look forward to providing you with aggressive legal representation. Call them at 909-945-5000, where you can talk to a person, not a machine. That's 909-945-5000, the law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett. And now let's get back to our show where we talk about politics, money, and you. And now, ladies and gentlemen, coming to you from the basement of his strategic planning room located at his political hideaway in Los Angeles County, the dedicated man who stands and serves the political conscience of our nation, Mr. Jon Matthews.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza Live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. We're at 3:34 p.m. Pacific time. It's currently 64 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. It's on its way down to 51 degrees, it says now. It's supposed to be a big storm coming in. It was supposed to have hit already, so we're just kind of waiting for that. We need the water here in California, so that's not so bad. If you're listening to us on our globally syndicated network and you're in New York City, well, it's 30 degrees and it's clear. And if you're in Chicago, Illinois, listening to into our show. It's 41 degrees and it's mostly cloudy. But you know what? Right now, we're waiting for our simulcast. That's Jon Matthews and Joe Hakos. They'll be calling in any moment now. And we'll be talking about, I'm sure, conservative politics. We're going to be talking about the Ninth Circuit Court. We'll be talking about the Supreme Court. We're going to be talking about Donald Trump. We'll be talking about all those things. It won't take very long. He'll be calling in to us. Matter of fact, should be already. So I expect that to come in shortly. You know, it's always interesting. John's been on vacation. It's good to have him back from the Philippines. He's celebrating an anniversary out there, and well deserved. The man has a wonderful wife, and he's got a wonderful career, and he's doing really, really well. So we can't hardly wait to get him on the line and start talking to John. It looks like, it looks to me like, because he hasn't called in yet, he got a little long-winded and he had to go to a commercial. Now the commercial, we're waiting for him to get called in. Here he is now. We're on with Jon Matthews and Joe Hakos. Hey, John, how you doing?
Hey, how you doing, my friend? Long time no hear.
Man, I guess I was thinking that you were never going to come back from the Philippines, for God's sakes.
Well, I got to be honest with you. We talked about it.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. It's been something on my heart for a number of years to actually retire over there. The only situation we have right now is because of Lourdes' health condition. Mm-hmm. If we went to the Philippines, we would have to absorb the cost of her medication.
Oh, my.
So that'd be a bit of a stretch. I mean, we could do well over in the Philippines between us, pensions and Social Security and everything, but a lot of it would end up going to medication, and that's just a little bit beyond our reach right now. So other than that, we'd be gone already.
Well, you know what? Let's hope that the situation changes and that you'll be able to do what you like.
Well, we'll see. I mean, it depends. Let's see how we get through this next 4 years. And what we see at the end of the road,
Well, it's interesting. There's been no lack of news or lack of things to talk about since January the 20th. Man, it has just been hitting hot and heavy. There's no lack of interest either.
I got to tell you, I was so overwhelmed when I came back. When my time over in the Philippines, where we were at, internet access was virtually unattainable. The cost of internet in the Philippines is really bad. I mean, a lot. Just for internet, it's about $100 a month.
Wow.
And you're talking about, getting internet with families, their average wage is maybe $10, $15 a day.
Oh,
and where we were at, it was inaccessible. So I had to use my granddaughter's Facebook account because they get free data on Facebook when they buy their phones, and the phones are all prepaid too. You don't use a phone and then pay; you pay up front. And so I that's how I had to communicate with Joe, using my granddaughter's Facebook account.
Hey, you know what? You're gonna become a social media guru, right?
Well, the point being is that I was very much out of tune with what was going on over here. We'd hear little blurbs on the news every now and then, but the Philippines is a microcosm of democratic socialism, mm-hmm. and so a lot of what I was hearing on the news over there, I knew was pretty skewed. It's all and the issue over there, of course, is immigration. So that's the big thing, and they don't talk much about anything else. And then they got their own issues. Rodrigo Duterte, their president over there, who's just really good at pissing everybody off.
Well, we got one of those too.
Yeah, and in fact, I spent many nights with my granddaughter and grandson, the youngest ones, talking politics because they were asking me to explain different things. My granddaughter once again finished number 4 in her entire class.
How old is she, John?
Huh?
How old is she?
She's 17, and she missed being number 1 this year by less than half a point.
Wow.
I mean, it was like, but anyway, her highest, the class that she scores the highest in is civics and politics.
Oh, wow. So you two had to get along really well.
Oh, we had some great conversations. She was asking me, the difference between socialism and Marxism and communism. She didn't quite grasp that. She knew what they were, but she said they sound so much alike. So we spent time talking about that and the difference between that and capitalism and democratic socialism and stuff. And she was able to grasp pretty much what I was saying. So it was fun. But the point being is, I didn't hear a whole lot. And then I get back, as soon as we get back across the ages, in the airplane, and I start trying to catch up with everything, I'm like, oh my God.
I wanted to ask you, your 17-year-old granddaughter, and I'm sure that she was tremendously respectful of you, but did she accept everything you said verbatim just because you said it, or did she question any of the things that you had shared with her?
Well, what the discussion, most of the discussion was about whether or not what she was hearing was true. And that's, we spent a lot of time talking about fake news and the difference between propaganda and news. And a lot of things, it's not that she disagreed with me. She would express to me what she's being taught. And that was the whole purpose of having the conversation in the first place. I wanted to know, what are they teaching you? How are they, the Philippine education system is, I think, leaps and bounds beyond what we have here in America. I mean, she, I asked her, have you taken algebra and geometry? She goes, oh, we did that 4 years ago.
Oh my.
And she's taking a class right now, which I found fascinating, called reasoning and statistics and reasoning.
God forbid that anyone would take a class in reasoning.
Well, it was just, it blew me away. Some of the classes. And as soon as I got back, this really got me. As soon as I got back, she sends me a message and she says, Grandpa, I've got to do a paper on homosexuality. And I need you to give me some Bible scriptures so that I can explain the biblical view on homosexuality. And I'm like, this is in public school?
Wow. Don't hold your breath for it to happen here. But I'll tell you what, how wonderful is that? And not only is it wonderful, but I think it's wonderful that she's got a grandfather that she can call upon for that kind of input.
Oh yeah, they actually teach over there. They have comparative religion classes over there where they talk about all religions.
And don't you agree that they should?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
For that, I don't believe in censorship when it comes to academics. I think everything should be open to discussion and debate.
Absolutely. I don't believe in censorship in academics, but I also do believe in peaceful protests where damages are not incurred. I think that there's a right for that too. But boy, I'll tell you what, somehow in our country that's gone out the window.
Yeah, well, when we, in this country, we don't have protests anymore. They're called riots.
Yeah, absolutely. Matter of fact, that's the difference. A group with a leader they call a country. A group without a leader they call a mob, and that's what they're dealing with in these protests.
Well, I was just talking about, before I brought you on the show here, I was just talking about how hard it is for me to acknowledge and verify or validate that one of the things the left is so good at doing is organizing and making it look like it's spontaneous. And in fact, when everything is so well planned out, I always say, whenever I hear about spontaneous protests, the first thing I do is I go looking for pictures. And when I see all the pre-printed signs, and I go, I was in the printing business for a number of years, and I know there is no way in hell you're going to get 1,000 pre-printed signs in less than 24 hours.
Oh yeah. It's amazing the wool that's pulled over our eyes here in this country. And and I don't mean to take you off that subject, but you know what? When I am so infuriated by the news media today. They're talking about Ivanka Trump and Nordstrom, and they're talking about Donald Trump should never have said anything. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, it was okay for Truman to protect his daughter. And you know what? if somebody said something, I don't care if I was president or prime minister or whatever it is, or Queen of England, if somebody said something about my daughter or my son, I'd jump all over him like a wet blanket. Nobody be able to stop me. Just because he's president of the United States, he can't defend his daughter? I think that's all wrong.
Oh, yeah. Well, we were talking yesterday. The best example we could come up with was Harry Truman addressing a reporter who once said his daughter was, a terrible singer.
Yeah.
And Truman pretty much said, I hope I meet you someday because I'm going to rearrange your face.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what? And that's the way it ought to be. And then, you know what? I mean, the news media is nitpicking, John, on every stupid thing. Instead of talking about, hey, they've had great conversations with China, great conversations and meetings with Japan, they've fixed all the problems in Australia, the issues that were going on. Trump is making a tremendous headway in a number of ways, and what they want to concentrate on are these nitpicking, stupid nuances. Spicer might have said something the wrong way, or he wore the wrong color suit, or they just keep doing stupid ass stuff that just drives me absolutely nuts. And then there's a part of me that says, I don't know who, it's got to be somebody that was already in the Department of Justice as an attorney who drafted this executive order and really did a disservice to Donald Trump, because they should have known that there were 2 or 3 areas in there that were going to cause controversy. They could have removed those right away and the thing would have been just fine, which is exactly what he's going to do now. And I hope they fire that son of a gun that was representing the United States before the Ninth Circuit.
Well, in fact, I want to talk about that when we get back. We got to go to commercial break here in a minute, but I want to talk about that when we get back, because I happened to watch the press conference between Sean Spicer and the media the other day, and where they were majoring in the minors, just as you were saying.
Yeah.
Everything from Ivanka Trump's endorsement at Nordstrom's, like it really means something, to the controversy over whether the Supreme Court nominee by Donald Trump actually disagrees with Donald Trump's assessment of the judge who put the ban on the travel order. So a real interesting conversation, and it'll definitely exemplify and demonstrate how the media is just majoring in the minors, and it's really something. But we got to go to break.
Okay.
And
we're going to be right back with Jon Matthews and the Conservative Syndicate on our simulcast right after these brief messages. Do not go away.
Isn't it time to shine the spotlight on your expertise? The Interview, starring you. Here's your chance to capture 5 minutes of fame with The Interview. This isn't just any interview. This is your opportunity to showcase your expertise and position yourself as a trusted expert in a one-on-one video interview hosted by Robert Cardoza, host of the nationally syndicated show Robert Cardoza Live, and powered by AHA Studios. What is it? A professionally recorded video for your use. Robert Cardoza interviews you on the set where he records his show. Professional interview showcases your expertise and value, shot in a state-of-the-art studio. And what's in it for you? Gain credibility as an expert, earn the trust of your target market, educate in a way that intrigues your audience, gain a powerful marketing tool that offers dozens of uses: website, video sharing sites, social media, email, DVDs, direct mail, lobby video, resumes, profile building, all that kind of stuff. Association with the nationally syndicated celebrity. That's right. And let's talk about AHA Studios. AHA is a strategic marketing firm that leverages the powerful and visual persuasion to help your business create powerful messages that connect with your target market. AHA ventures way beyond strategy, delivering the marketing collateral you need to start driving a new business through your doors. AHA has a full-service, in-house, state-of-the-art production studio to bring your messages to life using video. Discover how to make The Interview work for you. Call 949-831-2222.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza Live on the street at the intersection of business and politics, where at 3:48 p.m. Pacific time, it's currently 50 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. And you know what? If you're listening to us on our globally syndicated network and you're in Paris, France, well, it's 32 degrees and mostly cloudy. And in Rome, Italy, It's 48 degrees and partly cloudy. Well, we're waiting for Jon Matthews to call back in from the Conservative Syndicate. He's just freshly back from the Philippines. And we're going to be talking about the news media and the ridiculous stands that they're taking in some of these press conferences. It's, they're staying away from what the major news is, and I just don't understand it. Don't understand it at all. But we'll pick that conversation up as soon as Jon gets back on the line with us. This commercial break should be ending any moment now. And you know what? I'm sure he's going to have a lot to say. He was agreeing with me as we were going. There we go now. And we're back with Jon Matthews and the Conservative Syndicate. Hey, Jon.
Okay, and they're majoring in the minors here. Now, back to our conversation, Bob.
Yeah. I
happened to catch the press conference the other day between Sean Spicer and the media, and there was two topics that they were just trying to beat to death. One was the conflict of interest about Kellyanne Conway making a comment that people should buy Ivanka Trump's products, which has been addressed. I guess it is a conflict of interest in that regard. And, okay, give it, but they're making such a big deal. They want to shove it out there.
It's not a capital crime. It's a faux pas. You just made a mistake, for God's sake. What are they going to do, hang her?
Yeah, well, that's what's really funny. I was making some comments on social media today that Louis Shavitz, who was out there saying, "Oh, we need to do something about this." She overstepped her boundaries, and I think, I every time I hear stuff like this, I keep envisioning Hans Blinks from Team America. I don't know if you ever watched that movie where he stands up in front of the Korean dictator Jong, what's his face, and says, "I'm here to represent the UN, and I have a letter for you that tells you we're very unhappy with what you're doing, and if you keep doing, we're going to write you another letter." And, you were doing, and Jong ends up feeding them to the sharks, that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
so
the interesting thing here, Jon, is that the media can't do anything about it. The Congress can't do anything about it. In this particular case with Kellyanne Conway, only the President of the United States can do something, and he's already done what he's going to do. Why don't they just let this guy do his job and get the hell out of his way?
Well, that's the problem. They don't want to let him do his job, because they have nothing. They have no way of stopping them from doing their job except dragging their knuckles and majoring in this minor deal. The idea that we can create some kind of facade that Donald Trump became president to build his own personal enterprise in the face of everything we know about Hillary Clinton, for crying out loud. And I'm like, boy, you talk about a double standard there. But the exchange basically that went back and forth yesterday between Spicer and the press corps had to do with the comment made by Supreme Court nominee Gorsh, Neil Gorsh. Okay, now here's the deal: the semantics of it's all semantics. It's how you interpret when and how the comments were made.
Sure.
And Trump has basically come out and said, you guys have taken his comments out of context and applied them to something that he was not referring to. And so Spicer keeps telling the media, they keep coming back and saying, well, Senator Blumenthal told us that nominee Gorsh said that he was disheartened by Trump's recent attacks on the federal judge. And Spicer says that's not what happened. The nominee has come out himself and said that he was making a generic statement that any comments about the judiciary was disheartening.
Yeah. But you know what the dumb part about this is? Why not say, okay, so what? Let's move on. And then the counter argument for people like myself was, well, what about when Barack Obama dressed down the Supreme Court during the State of the Union message? Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And they were sitting right there in front of him. All 9 of them were sitting right there in front of him.
Yeah, and nobody said anything about that, or it was very minimum was said about it. And of course, then the media turns around and counters, well, it's different the way Obama did it. Obama said he disagreed with the ruling, not that the judiciary was bad or this. What's the difference?
You know what, Jon? I don't understand the difference. If you're not doing your job, that means then you've got reason to be upset, right?
Yeah, well, what's the difference between saying, I disagree with your statement, and I disagree with your statement, I think you're a hack?
Yeah.
Okay? Okay, so you add a little adjectives there, but you're still saying the same thing. And so what's the big deal? It's like, okay. And here's the irony of it all, Bob. When these confirmation hearings are coming up, especially people like Jeff Sessions and people like this, and the left is out there saying, well, we have a real problem with how cozy Trump's nominees are with them. They're too close, they're buddy, and that means that they won't be able to act independently. Well, let's play the devil's advocate and say this nominee, Mr. Neil Gorsuch, disagreed with Donald Trump's assessment of this judge in the Seattle court that proposed this suspension of his ban. Okay, so you're telling me in one hand you want a judge to be independent and state his opinions outside of his relationship with the president, but if he does it, then somehow that means that he doesn't agree with the president, which means the president's wrong. It's like, okay, you can't have it both ways.
Yeah.
You can't sit there and tell me, well, you can't be too tight with the president because you might agree with everything he says. And then when you disagree with him, say, see, that means that the president's not qualified.
You know what? I just think that, you and I have said this over and over and over again. We've got a legislature that is just off the wall here somewhere. Now the Democrats are doing the same damn thing that the Republicans did before, being obstructionist. This is a real honest chance to get this country back on its feet again. If they would just give the guy the tools, let him, he's got 9 more nominees that they're holding back as long as they can hold back. Everybody's going to go through. We know they're all going to go through. How many millions upon millions of dollars are these legislators spending our money, wasting it for something that is a given already? They're going to get through.
Well, here's the big kicker, just to add a little bit more flavor to this entire thing. The real obstruction that's going on in Congress right now is not the Democrats, it's the Republicans. We had Scott Faulkner on here yesterday. He's one of our new contributors here. Mm-hmm. He worked in the Reagan administration, and he is currently working with the Trump transition team. And we were talking to him yesterday and says, things just seem so chaotic. And some of the things that are happening, I have an issue with the Betty DeVos appointment to the secretary position, education secretary, because of her ties to Jeb Bush. And he said, what people aren't grasping is the fact that it is the Republicans that are obstructing things. You think about the fact that these nominations, the one that have been approved by the smallest margins in quite a long time. Yeah. And it's because some of the Republicans are joining ranks with the Democrats. So we're right back to square one. The Republican establishment colluding with the Democrats to try to undermine Trump because neither side wants him in office.
Yeah. Well, the problem. Yes, you're right. The problem that the disparity that I'm seeing, you're seeing pretty much a party line fight, with the exception of, you see McCain, and you see Lindsey, and you see what the heck's his name? Ron Paul. These are the guys that are really kind of shifting over to the other side, that are getting in the way and almost got in the way of all this stuff. The truth is, those guys need to be made to pay the piper. I think that when this is all said and done and everybody is in their seat, somebody has got to play hell with those guys.
I think the time has come to waterboard John McCain and Lindsey Graham.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, these guys, they become the representative voice of the Republican Party only because they've got an R after their name. But these are the epitome of what's wrong with Congress today.
They've been around too long, John. That's why I am a proponent of term limits. These guys have been around there too long. They've been sitting in those seats too damn long. We need to get them the hell out of there and get some fresh blood that can think about today, not yesterday.
Yeah. Anyway, we're at the end of our time here, Bob. You got about 30 seconds to plug your show.
Well, you know what? Everybody, go out there and get my app. It's absolutely free. Go to your app store, search Robert Cardoza Live. It's there. It's absolutely free. You can listen to my show 24/7. Hey, John, I love having you back. I'm glad you're back. Look forward to talking to you on Monday.
All right. You take care, my friend. We'll talk to you later on.
All righty. And the rest of you folks, stick around, because when we come back, we'll be with David Garrett on the law. Don't go away.
If you want to increase your client base and sales, then consider this. The Relationship Building Network at RBN. Given the current economic conditions and challenges, we all need to work smarter, make smarter decisions, invest our hard-earned dollars where it'll yield the best return for our investment. Many business professionals claim that the most effective networking group in Orange County is RBN. No other networking group or organization can offer what RBN offers. Make every year your best year. Join RBN and start reaping the benefits today. Nearly 3,000 businesses have joined RBN and experienced those benefits. Why join RBN? It's one group. It's one membership. It's no renewals. It's all through Orange County. RBN is a freestyle networking group. No mandatory attendance, no restrictions, no rules, and no penalties. Call them at 949-830-5776 or go to their website at rbninfo.com. That's 949-830-5776. If you've ever dreamed of having your own business to make your life secure, Water's Edge Wineries might be just the ticket. In 2004, their founder, Ken Lineberger, created the first winery franchise in California. It was a new concept with all of the functionality of a traditional winery, but without the vineyards. They purchased high-quality grape must from one of the largest winemaking companies in the world. Then they craft each wine carefully and bottle it right at their location. The winery was built to satisfy consumer demand for wine by the bottle and by the glass, but still kept the element of allowing customers to bottle their own custom vintage. Now, they're opening urban wineries across the United States under the brand Water's Edge Wineries. If you've ever dreamed of owning your own winery, it may be in reach right now through Water's Edge Wineries. Just give them a call at 909-468-9463, extension 700. That's Water's Edge Wineries, 909-468-9463. Have you ever found yourself caught between a rock and a hard place? The law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett might be just the answer for you. The attorneys of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett have been serving the Inland Empire since 1989. They're dedicated to the aggressive litigation of civil, criminal, and real estate matters. Over the years, they have recovered tens of millions of dollars for their clients. The firm's practice specializes in litigation of personal injury, accident, slip and fall, real estate, and criminal law cases. The firm provides clients with the care, accuracy, and dedication of experienced attorneys. Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett is located at 10300 4th Street, Suite 150 in Rancho Cucamonga, California. They've been providing the Inland Empire residents with outstanding legal services for over 25 years. They look forward to providing you with aggressive legal representation. Call them at 909-945-5000, where you can talk to a person, not a machine. That's 909-945-5000, the law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett. And now let's get back to our show where we talk about politics, money, and you.
The story you are about to see is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, coming to you from the bowels of the Hall of Justice, our own legal guru, David Garrett, attorney at law.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza live on the street at the intersection of business and politics at 4:01 p.m. Pacific time. It's currently 64 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. That's on its way down to 53 degrees. We're expecting rain any time now. It's actually it's supposed to be an all day today, but there's a storm coming in and we're waiting for the rain to hit today and tomorrow. But you know what? If you're listening to us on our globally syndicated network and you're in London, England, it is 34 degrees and it's overcast. Hey, that's cold, guys. And if you're in Vienna, Australia, it's 30 degrees and it's mostly cloudy. And that's even colder. But I'll tell you what, there are no clouds gathering over the head of my good buddy David Garrett. David Garrett on the law. Hey, David, you're on the air, buddy.
How you doing, Bob?
Hey, I'm doing good. Glad to have you home. I hope the trip was successful for you.
Yeah, it worked out well. I had some problems with the roof, but other than that, things went pretty well.
Was there a hole in the roof?
Well, what happened out there is because of the volume of snow they've had this year, the snow has slid down to the eaves, and then it melts and forms an ice barrier down there.
Mm.
And then as the rest of the snow up above it melts, it goes down and causes an ice dam, and the water backs up and gets in any hole that it can find. So we had a few loose screws, and that with the water backing up, it just became a big mess.
Wow. Were you able to get it all resolved?
Yeah, we got it going. Had to pull things up and chip ice off the roof, and it became a little bit of a project there.
Ah, well, I'm glad you're back. I'm glad you got it all taken care of. Hey, how are you? How well versed are you with constitutional law?
I wouldn't say I'm an expert in it, but I have a passing understanding of a lot of it.
Better than me, anyway. So here's the thing. I'm thinking about Donald Trump and this executive order that the Ninth Circuit Court just put the kibosh on, or actually it's a temporary kibosh until they prove the case, I guess. But here, the thing I'm thinking about is I'm thinking the attorney for the Department of Justice ought to get fired. He just seemed to be stepping on his tongue all the time, not well prepared. The second thing is whoever wrote that executive order ought to be strung up by the thumbs for not knowing there were a couple of areas there that should never have been in that were clearly discriminatory. They're not discriminatory, but we're dealing with people that already had legal permission to come into the country. And now the simplest thing to me is rewrite the executive order, get rid of the things the Ninth Circuit didn't like, and let's move forward. What is your position on this, and can they do that? Can they just forget about the old one and do a new one?
You know what? I tend to agree with you on all that. Without knowing it, I would say if he could write the order, he ought to be able to rescind it and do one that is more in compliance with the law. That would seem.
Otherwise, you know what? And then this idea of standing, and I understand the standing that Washington State has. I think I understand it. I'm not a lawyer, but it seems to me that their only standing would be a state standing in that it affects their foreign students and foreign business people and those kinds of things in the state of Washington. But I don't understand how they had standing to get a national stay. Because don't they have to have standing? Don't you have to be hurt or affected?
Right, and so the standing idea is that because those foreign nationals were involved in the educational system, that the schools were injured, and so the schools being a part of the state, governmental organization. That's how they got to standing, saying that the schools have the right to one, assert rights on behalf of the students, and then two, there was direct injury to the schools.
But David, wouldn't that only give them standing for the state of Washington, not a national standing?
And that was one of the arguments that was raised there. It was Washington and Minnesota that were in the lawsuit, and they concluded if they limited it just to those two states, it would basically, using a legal term, cause a big mess. That's really the way to look at it. I mean, you couldn't just cut out two states and have the 48 have another series of law applying to them.
Yeah. So the easiest solution is just for Trump to, if he wants to move forward, rescind that executive order and develop a brand new one that is pure enough that it can't even have standing in court, right?
Yeah, I mean, he could address the problems that invalidated or issued the TRO in that original.
Well, yeah, it seems to me, David, the biggest issue was that he voided the visas that had already been approved, and he voided the the work permits that had already been approved, and that was where he fell over the line. If he had just left everybody alone that had legal visas and permits, then the rest of it would have been fine.
Yeah, I think that's a good conclusion. I think he even could have affected the existing ones if he'd provided for some sort of due process determination of those individual rights,
as opposed to just canceling them.
Yeah. I mean, if he'd have said, "Okay, I'm not going to let you in, but I'm going to give you an opportunity to say why you should."
Yeah. You can appeal it.
Right.
Yeah, you know what? Just this, I am so. You know what? I'm just really ticked off. It just seems to me that our government, whether it be state governments or federal governments, everybody is getting in everybody else's way. They're nitpicking on stupid things, and they're just blocking any progress and spending millions upon millions of dollars for something that is going to, at the end, not have an effect.
Yeah, I think the whole thing is kind of crazy. I did take the chance to scan that written opinion,
Mm-hmm.
and one conclusion I read on this one, I'm a little critical of Trump, is that he was trying to make the argument of, well, you can't tell me what to do, court.
Oh yeah. Well, you know the argument that the dumb part that I saw was that he had insinuated that he had confidential information as president of the United States that brought him to this opinion to have this executive order, and that the courts couldn't hear that. And courts hear confidential information all the time.
Yeah, that's kind of silly. I mean, the reality of what happened here is you got a temporary restraining order that is normally a very expeditious process to begin with to see whether or not it becomes a preliminary injunction. So the TROs...
I'm sorry, David, what's the difference between a preliminary order, you used two different terms. You said an injunction and a preliminary order. What's the difference between the two of those?
Yeah, the temporary restraining order is something that just basically freezes things the way they were. They're generally only available for a short period of time. The general period is approximately 14 days, but in this case, because of the briefing schedule that was put in by the court, it ended up being longer than 14 days. And those are kind of issued on an emergency basis. We've got to keep things where they are and don't really involve a full evidentiary hearing.
Mm.
Then the next step is preliminary injunction, which will stay in place until things get for the length of the trial up until judgment, at which time a preliminary injunction turns into a permanent injunction.
Mm.
So he's making these arguments about the top secret information he has. That will probably come out in an evidentiary hearing on the preliminary injunction.
Okay, so on the temporary restraining order, that's not a place where any evidence is put out. That's just an argument from both sides, and there's no evidence to support either side. Is that correct?
Well, I wouldn't use the term any evidence, but let me just say it's not a full-blown evidentiary hearing.
Mm.
I mean, there got to be some sort of prima facie showing as to why the restraining order should be issued to begin with.
So if he gets rid of all of the obvious objections that are here that deal with him canceling prior approvals and the legalization of the legal visas and things like that, I mean, doesn't it make sense that he would just come out with another executive order getting rid of that, and that would just, and if he rescinds the old order, it takes this thing out of court, there's no penalty. They can't do anything to the President of the United States for an executive order, so that it just makes the whole thing a moot point, right?
Right. It just goes away, and after I read the opinion of the court, my personal opinion is that's exactly what they ought to do. They ought to get rid of that first executive order and write something that addresses the concerns of the court and reissue it.
So let me ask you this, not being a lawyer, shouldn't the Department of Justice, its legal team, have known that rescinding visas and work permits and those things were going to create this kind of controversy?
Well, and I think that gets back to this. What I'd like to. There's a term for it that I can't use in this discussion, but this little power struggle idea between a president that wants to say, you can't tell me what to do in regards to these aliens. I think he was trying to make a point and enlarge the scope of his authority.
Ah. Sort of like what Nixon was doing during the Watergate issues, right? He kept flexing his muscles to see how far he could push the courts.
Yeah, that's one example. I think there's examples all over the place of, where various presidents have done this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, they try to get as much authority and as they can get, where they're not subject to review. But isn't that kind of why we have three branches of government, so that we can have those checks and balances?
Yeah, exactly. And the court spent quite a bit of time discussing that particular issue, because Trump goes in and says, hey, you can't review this, you can't tell me what to do. And there's just a body of case law that statutes and all that says, yeah, well, we really can. So
that position paper that you're talking about that you were reviewing, is that something that's available to anybody on the internet? Can I go on the internet and actually print a copy of that and read it?
Oh, sure. Yeah. You just type in, I think, Ninth Circuit travel ban, and that opinion will come right up.
Ah, okay. And then, because it sounds to me like before a person can really have a reasonable dialogue about this, it would probably be best if they had read it.
Oh, I think so. I mean, the document itself is, 29 pages long?
Yeah, no big deal.
Yeah, and it's fairly easy read, but
is it full of legalese, or can a normal vocabulary be able to read that and comprehend what's being said?
I think anybody could read it and understand it. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting. The sad thing is you get all these interpretations, from the various pundits out there that are all trying to, argue whatever their own interests are. Mm-hmm. And I can't say that after I read this that I felt the Ninth Circuit did the wrong thing. I think they did the right thing.
Now, that's interesting. Now, let me ask you this. Those people who, let's just say that the people that had visas and the people that had legal entry into the United States and all this prearranged and had work permits and things, if it's found that portion of the executive order was unconstitutional, do they have any recourse in the fact that they got turned around and put on planes and sent back home, and then they came back again because the order was put on stay? Do they have any legal recourse to the United States to be compensated for that?
No, I don't believe so. There's a couple theories that might allow it. I'm not sure that they would get too far.
It's just the way it's going to be, right?
Yeah.
And now when you get to a country like the United States and they stop you at customs and they say, no, you got to go home. What if you don't have the money to get home? Do they send you home? What do they do?
I would assume so. That's one I don't know the answer to. I mean, I think they'd have to pay to send them back. You can't have them sitting there in the airport all year long. Yeah,
I mean, they're coming here. They probably used a lot of people use their life savings to get here because they're refugees, right? They're coming over here to make a new life in the United States. It's cost them every nickel they have to get here, and now you say you got to go back, but you haven't got a nickel to get back on.
Right. The thing after I read this, I think if he'd limited it to the refugee argument, he might have just had a whole different outcome.
Well, that's interesting. Hey, listen, we're going to take a short break, David. When we come back, we can either continue talking about this or you can talk to us about anything you want, because you haven't been on the air for a couple of weeks, so you must have a lot of stuff stacked up.
Definitely, yeah. I've got a few other observations on this case, and then we can run on to something else.
Okay, so let's do that. We'll be right back with our own David Garrett on the law. We'll be right back, folks.
Isn't it time to shine the spotlight on your expertise? The Interview, starring you. Here's your chance to capture 5 minutes of fame with The Interview. This isn't just any interview. This is your opportunity to showcase your expertise and position yourself as a trusted expert in a one-on-one video interview hosted by Robert Cardoza, host of the nationally syndicated show Robert Cardoza Live and powered by AHA Studios. What is it? A professionally recorded video for your use. Robert Cardoza interviews you on the set where he records his show. Professional interview showcases your expertise and value, shot in a state-of-the-art studio. And what's in it for you? Gain credibility as an expert, earn the trust of your target market, educate in a way that intrigues your audience, gain a powerful marketing tool that offers dozens of uses, website, video sharing sites, social media, email, DVDs, direct mail, lobby video, resumes, profile building, all that kind of stuff. Association with the nationally syndicated celebrity. That's right. And let's talk about AHA Studios. AHA is a strategic marketing firm that leverages the powerful and visual persuasion to help your business create powerful messages that connect with your target market. AHA ventures way beyond strategy, delivering the marketing collateral you need to start driving a new business through your doors. AHA has a full-service, in-house, state-of-the-art production studio to bring your messages to life using video. Discover how to make The Interview work for you. Call 949-831-2222. That's 949-831-2222. AHA Image Studios, Incorporated. Dr. Stephen Tidwell, Gentle Family Dentistry in a caring, personalized environment. Here at Dr. Tidwell's office, we are dedicated to helping you keep your teeth healthy. We are a state-of-the-art dental practice that still believes in traditional values, such as excellent customer service and individual attention. We have a special welcoming offer for you for just $39, a complete exam, personal consultation, professional cleaning, and all necessary x-rays. That's a $266 value for $39. Dr. Tidwell has 2 convenient locations and experienced staff to provide you with professional care and personal attention that you deserve. Call today. Don't delay. A great smile another day. Call 909-944-7308. That's 909-944-7308 for Rancho Cucamonga or San Bernardino. Joel Saltzman is Dr. Wireless. He has turned his considerable expertise into consumer credit risk and wireless security into a highly specialized independent web-based consulting enterprise targeting consumer credit risk analysis and wireless transactional security and monitoring. He works as a wireless analyst, veteran independent agent, and consumer liaison for most wireless telecom carriers and equipment manufacturers. For more than 20 years, corporate and private clients and media audiences have counted on his unvarnished advice while weighing the technology, performance, and cost differences between Sprint, Nextel, AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile. Joel specializes in setting up mobile wireless hotspots to be used for disaster preparedness, business continuity, and mobile wireless merchant processing solutions. Call Dr. Wireless at 310-400-4900 or go to his webpage at drwireless.com. Again, call 310-400-4900 or his webpage at drwireless.com. You'll be glad you did. And now, back to our show.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza Live on the Street at the intersection of business and politics. We're at 4:22 p.m. Pacific time. It's currently 62 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California, on the way down to 51 degrees. If you're listening to us on our globally syndicated network and you're listening to us in Madrid, Spain, well, it's 41 degrees, and you know what? It is raining there. And if you're in Tokyo, Japan, it's 37 degrees, and it is clear. You know what? It's always clear in the mind of our own David Garrett on the law. David, you got the microphone.
Yeah, let me just share a couple of interesting comments in here. One of them is, it says, more generally, even if the TRO might be overbroad in some respects, it is not our role to try and effect to rewrite the executive order. The political branches are far better equipped to make appropriate distinctions. So, I mean, in essence, the court says, hey, you can fix this.
Yeah, rewrite it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that makes sense. You know what? Why are they just nitpicking each other? Why don't they just be honest about this stuff? You know, the courts are telling them, this is what you got to do, guys. It's an easy fix.
Yeah. Here's another interesting comment. The government has pointed to no evidence that any alien from any of the countries named in the order has perpetrated a terrorist attack in the United States. Rather than present evidence to explain the need for the executive order, the government has taken the position that we must not review its decisions at all. We disagree as explained above. So that's why I kind of come away with the overall feeling that this is just one of those things, hey, I can do whatever I want. And being told by the Ninth Circuit that they didn't agree with that approach.
Yeah.
They could have put evidence in.
Yeah. But it sounded to me like, before we went on a break, that you said that there was a separate evidentiary, I'm not pronouncing it right, evidentiary hearing that takes place after the temporary restraining order, which has not taken place yet. Can you, are you saying that in the first case for the temporary restraining order, they actually could have presented evidence had they wanted to support the position that they had that the president took?
Yeah, they said they didn't do it.
No, but they could have, is what I'm asking.
Yeah, they could have brought stuff in.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of an unusual way to approach this whole thing.
You mean unreasonably?
No, not just unusual. I think the whole thing's kind of unreasonable all on its face.
Oh yeah.
All they had to do was come up with some procedural safeguards, make a more strict writing of the executive order, it looks like, and then maybe present some evidence, and I think the whole thing might have come out a lot different.
You know what? It doesn't it almost feel, David, like the president signed this order and nobody read it?
Let me throw you another thought out here, because I've heard this said about Trump along the line that as a businessman, he starts off with a very hard, strident position and expects to negotiate back to a different position. I don't know if you've heard some of the political commentary on that. Mm-hmm. And I kind of think this might be going along those kind of lines. I'm going to come up with this really hard, strident position, and then as I get a little bit of backlash, well, we can soften it a little bit, and I get more of what I want.
So he asks for the world, knowing he isn't going to get it, but they're liable to indicate in their response that if he makes some adjustments, he can get a lot more than what he really would have asked for in the first place.
Right, but I think this could be educational to the extent that when you're writing these executive orders, you ask for the world, and it isn't like the other side comes back and says, "No, but we'll agree to this."
Yeah,
it just what you ask for goes to the court, and the court says, "Yeah, it's either good or it's no good."
Gotcha.
So I think it might be a different. Putting myself in kind of Trump's mind, he might have been surprised by all this. Well, why didn't they just come back and say, do this and fix it? Or let us go back and forth like we do negotiating the building of a building or something.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting because I can always use the excuse that I'm not an attorney and I don't know any better. But the truth is if you're a businessman of the stature of a Donald Trump that does billions of dollars worth of stuff, you would have a pretty good basis of legal knowledge. I'm not saying that you're an attorney, but you would have talked to enough attorneys that you would have absorbed a lot of this information along the line, and he would know better, right?
Well, yeah, with the exception that he hasn't been in the rule and law making business for very long.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
You know, so a law gets written, and whatever you write goes up, and the courts interpret it. And generally speaking, they don't rewrite the law to what it should be. They just invalidate it altogether.
Right. Right. They are an interpreter, as you say, and not a maker of laws.
Right, and you remember the Obamacare discussion. This was.
Oh, you mean with Judge Roberts?
Yeah. That's something I didn't like out of that opinion was where they said, held Congress to, we're not going to implement any taxes, and then the Supreme Court came back and said, well, it really is a tax, and we're going to uphold it under that theory. I think they should have stuck Congress with what they represented to the people it should be.
Yeah, because who is it that's supposed to display intent? Isn't it the lawmaker themselves?
Right. I think this is the discussion between what you would call an interpretive and an activist judiciary.
Yeah, in that particular case, Jon Roberts actually volunteered that tax excuse when he went with the conservative or the liberal side of the vote and broke that vote. Everybody was shocked that he went that way, and I think it was because he didn't want to be responsible for negating a legacy that that it would have come down on. Well, it was Jon Roberts, the Chief Justice, that did this.
Yeah, I think that would be the way I interpret it. But Justice Roberts sure. He's a brilliant man. Maybe he had something that I don't know about. I didn't participate in that case. So, maybe there's another reason, but I've just kind of sat back and found out when you have the judiciary trying to write laws, it normally doesn't turn out real well.
Yeah. Although, you know what? Yeah, I understand. The interesting thing is Congress is probably made up of 85% attorneys, if not more. And you would think that these guys with their staffs who are also attorneys, most of them, that they could put these things together more succinctly so that there would be no confusion as to what the intent is.
You would think so, but I think in a lot of cases the politics overrides that, and they rely on the safeguard of the third branch of government, of the judiciary, to say, well, we can put out there whatever we want, and if we screw it up really bad, the judiciary can come in and tell us why we can't do that, and then we can go back and rewrite it.
Yeah.
Does that make any sense at all?
Oh, yeah, it does. I mean, if the judiciary actually defines this as being something different than what the intent of the Congress was, then the Congress just needs to create a new law and void that one.
Yeah, straighten it out.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes sense to me.
Yeah, I wish it worked that way in all cases.
Does it work in that way in any cases?
Oh, well, this one right here is an example where it did.
Interesting stuff. We got about 5 minutes left. What do you want to talk about?
Well, let's see. I got a couple of interesting things I'll just share with you. They're just kind of blabbering here.
Okay.
So this is kind of interesting. There's a guy that apparently goes out and burns his own house down.
Mm-hmm. On purpose.
On purpose,
okay.
Yeah. This is an arson thing. Yeah. But he makes up the excuse that, hey, I didn't do that. I discovered the fire and packed my belongings and broke a glass and did a bunch of stuff to get out of the house. the funny thing was the guy had a pacemaker, and this pacemaker records, what his heart activity and all that is going on with.
Mm-hmm.
The data in the pacemaker didn't coincide with the level of activity he would have been talking about had he actually broken the glass and started removing his items from the house.
Mm.
So part of that, in connection with a couple other things, they end up convicting the guy. But it's kind of interesting how evidence is sometimes found in places people would never think of looking at.
Well, especially a pacemaker. Who would ever think about that?
Yeah, it's we've been talking about the Big Brother effect of some of our technology. Here's another example. And let me share another one. This came out of San Diego.
Mm-hmm.
And so what it is, there's this guy down there that's a rapper, and apparently comes out of Lincoln Park, which is a known gang level out or location down there. He gets into doing his lyrics, and you can imagine they support Lincoln Park, and then he gets involved with social media posts. Well, apparently this upset the officers in San Diego, and so they arrest the guy over social media posts and rap lyrics saying it was supporting the gang activity. There's some obscure law about that. Proceeds through various levels. This guy spends 7 months in jail, and then they ultimately dismiss it. And now he's turned around suing the city of San Diego for violating his First Amendment rights. So that's kind of interesting to the extent that some of the stuff you put on Facebook may actually come back and bite you in the rear.
Yeah. You know what? It's amazing. Are you aware of this new television program called Hunted?
I've heard of it. I haven't watched it at all.
I got to tell you, I've watched 2 or 3 episodes of this thing, and it's absolutely mind-boggling. I mean, it's kind of set up so that the contestants don't have much of a chance of winning. They got to be really, really sharp. But it's amazing what these investigators, what these guys can pull up. They're ex-CIA or ex-CIA, police officers, just big FBI and all this kind of stuff. And they go in and they find things out. They show you how they do all this stuff. And I'm sitting to myself thinking, there is no way on earth that you can hide from anybody in this country if they really want to get you.
Oh yeah, I agree with that.
I mean, they plug into all of these closed circuit television things, and they check on the internet. If you're breathing, for God's sakes, there's a record of it someplace.
Yeah. It's absolutely amazing the amount of stuff out there.
So the people that are not getting caught, it's just simply because law enforcement's not that aggressively tuned into getting them, right?
Well, it may be that. It may be there just isn't the capacity to wade through the volume of data there and pick out where the people are.
Oh yeah, because on these they have these couples. They put them in intermittently. There's usually about 2 or 3 couples on the run at one time. There's 18 couples total, but they're catching every one of them after a couple of weeks. But there's 35 major professionals that are going after each couple. So I mean, and I'm guessing that they probably have resources that most law enforcement doesn't have.
Well, yeah, that, and I wouldn't know the answer to this, but do they have a general idea of where the people are so they can kind of sift the data?
Only where they started, but they've got a 5-state area that they can go into.
Oh, okay.
So anyway, my friend, we are out of time. Give a plug to your law firm, and then we'll have to talk again next week.
No, definitely. The firm is Blomberg, Benson & Garrett. We can be reached on the web at www.lawbbg.com, and the phone number is 945-5000.
Hey, David, I'm glad you're back. I'm glad you're safe. Try and stay dry. It's supposed to really start coming down here in a little bit. You know what? Make everybody around you happy.
I'll do that, definitely. And you have a great weekend there, Bob.
All right, buddy. You too. You take care. Now we're gonna be right back after these brief messages with the birthdays for the day, the secret daily teaching for your life, and interesting but useless facts. And then after that, we'll do our tributes to the late great Paul Harvey and the rest of the story. Today's story: no coward. You're gonna want to hear it. Don't go away.
If you want to increase your client base and sales, then consider this: the Relationship Building Network at RBN. Given the current economic conditions and challenges, we all need to work smarter, make smarter decisions, invest our hard-earned dollars where it'll yield the best return for our investment. Many business professionals claim that the most effective networking group in Orange County is RBN. No other networking group or organization can offer what RBN offers. Make every year your best year. Join RBN and start reaping the benefits today. You know, nearly 3,000 businesses have joined RBN and experienced those benefits. Why join RBN? It's one group. It's one membership. It's no renewals. It's all through Orange County. RBN is a freestyle networking group. No mandatory attendance, no restrictions, no rules, and no penalties. Call them at 949-830-5776 or go to their website at rbninfo.com. That's 949-830-5776. If you've ever dreamed of having your own business to make your life secure, you know Water's Edge Wineries might be just the ticket. In 2004, their founder, Ken Lineberger, created the first winery franchise in California. It was a new concept with all of the functionality of a traditional winery, but without the vineyards. They purchase high-quality grape must from one of the largest winemaking companies in the world. Then they craft each wine carefully and bottle it right at their location. The winery was built to satisfy consumer demand for wine by the bottle and by the glass, but still kept the element of allowing customers to bottle their own custom vintage. Now, they're opening urban wineries across the United States under the brand Water's Edge Wineries. If you've ever dreamed of owning your own winery, it may be in reach right now through Water's Edge Wineries. Just give them a call at 909-468-9463, extension 700. That's Water's Edge Wineries, 909-468-9463. Have you ever found yourself caught between a rock and a hard place? The law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett might be just the answer for you. The attorneys of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett have been serving the Inland Empire since 1989. They're dedicated to the aggressive litigation of civil, criminal, and real estate matters. Over the years, they have recovered tens of millions of dollars for their clients. The firm's practice specializes in litigation of personal injury, accident, slip and fall, real estate, and criminal law cases. The firm provides clients with the care, accuracy, and dedication of experienced attorneys. Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett is located at 10300 4th Street, Suite 150 in Rancho Cucamonga, California. They've been providing the Inland Empire residents with outstanding legal services for over 25 years. They look forward to providing you with aggressive legal representation. Call them at 909-945-5000, where you can talk to a person, not a machine. That's 909-945-5000, the law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett. And now let's get back to our show where we talk about politics, money, and you.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. We're at 4:41 p.m. Pacific time. Currently 62 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. It's on its way down to 51 degrees, and it hadn't started raining yet, but it's got to start any moment now. It looks like it wants to bust loose. If you're listening to us on our globally syndicated network and you're in Sydney, Australia, it is 91 degrees, and it is clear. And if you're in Auckland, New Zealand, it's 70 degrees. And it's clear. Boy, isn't that something? Well, right now, I want to talk to you about a positive mental attitude. That's what this segment's all about. It is the secret daily teaching for your life. You decide if you're going to be happy, sad, rich, poor, a success, or a failure. You do it every morning when you get up in the morning and you look in the mirror and you say, I'm going to have a fantastic, productive, profitable day today, and I'm going to make everybody around me happy. Yeah. But you know what? The teaching for today is a simple one. Simply this. The joy of giving is the greatest joy of life. You know what? And if you are convinced that it's going to make you happy, well, it will absolutely make you happy. Well, you know what today is? Sure you do. It's Friday. It's February the 10th, and it is somebody's birthday. Well, you know what? I am a real fan of this fella. He was born in 1930. He was Dr. Evil's henchman, number 2 in all 3 films of the Austin Powers adventure. You know what? Now he's on NCIS as a senior for that show. Happy birthday to Robert Wagner. He is 87 years young today. Isn't that something? Well, also, a fellow born in 1930, author and illustrator, and she is the only author to win the Newbery Medal and the Newbery Honor in the same year, and that was in 1968. Happy birthday, E.L. Konigsberg. And then finally, an actress that was born in 1967. Her performance in the 1991 film Rambling Rose resulted in an Academy Award nomination for Best Actress. Happy birthday, Laura Dern. Boy, I'll tell you what, that whole family has got some talented people in it. Well, let's talk about today in history. Let's, you know what? I know you're wondering about it, so I might as well just tell you about it. On February the 10th, 1870, here's one for you. The YWCA is founded in New York City. That's YW, not YM. Okay? You know, on this day in 1954, President Dwight David Eisenhower warns against the United States intervention in Vietnam. Well, we all know what happened there. And then finally, in 1989, Ron Brown is elected chairman of the Democratic National Committee, becoming the very first African American to lead a major American political party. Yeah. Well, you know what? Our quote for today comes from somebody that all of us know. Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Franklin says, "The only limit to our realization of tomorrow will be our doubts of today." Wow. Isn't that profound? Absolutely. All right. It's time for our interesting but useless facts. We've got a number of them here, and we've got about, 4 minutes that we can use for it. So let's start off with, do you know that the first United States consumer product sold in the Soviet Union, you ready, was Pepsi-Cola. Wow. Can you imagine? And then, you know, the letter W is the only letter in the alphabet that doesn't have just one syllable. It has 3. W, yeah. How about this? Did you know that all snakes on the island of Tasmania are poisonous? Now, that's a scary thought. I've been to Tasmania. I never even gave that any thought, nor did anybody ever give me any warning. That's a scary thought. How about this? Yeah, how about this? It is impossible for anyone to verbally count up to the number 1 trillion. Wow. Isn't that something? Impossible. Did you know the Beatles played the Las Vegas Convention Center in 1964? Some 8,500 fans paid just $4 each for tickets. Can you imagine that? I can't. You know, think about what these performances cost today, right? How about this? Do you know the names of all the continents end with the same letter that they start with? For instance, Asia, Europe. There you go, right? America. Try this one on. Did you know that deer are part of the Cervidae family that include moose, reindeer, elk, and other species? Yeah, I would guess it would be other species. Here's another one for you. Neanderthal man, the first human being in the true sense, had a brain capacity of 100 cc's, larger than modern man's. Bigger. Can you imagine? Bigger. Wow. You know, telephone is derived from 2 Greek words, tele and phone, meaning far off voice or sound. Tele, far off, plus phone, voice, or sound. You know what? There's not a day goes by that I do these things that I don't think about the guys that have to look these up and put them down. What a boring life. Here's one for you, though. You'll appreciate this. It is against the law to burp or sneeze in a certain church in Omaha, Nebraska. Against the law. Try this. Did you know in 1872, Yellowstone in the United States was the world's first national park? There you go. You know it now. You know, use some of this trivia to your advantage, right? Sure. You know that dogs can hear sounds that you can't? I think most all of us know that those real high pitches, nobody can hear it, but dogs can hear it. You know, Virginia law forbids bathtubs in the house. Now, tubs must be kept in the yard. Now, we're talking about interesting but useless facts. How about interesting but useless laws? There are so many of them that are still on the books that is just unimaginable. Did you know that the 772 and 778 digits of pi are, ready? 9999998. Yeah. Well, let me leave you with this one. Verdi wrote the opera Aida at the request of the Khedive of Egypt to commemorate the opening of the Suez Canal. Yeah. Well, we're going to leave you with that one. We're going to take a break. And when we come back, we're going to do our tribute to the late, great Paul Harvey and the rest of the story. Today's story, as I said, no coward. You're not going to want to miss this. It's a terrific story, guys. We'll be right back.
Isn't it time to shine the spotlight on your expertise? The Interview, starring you. Here's your chance to capture 5 minutes of fame with The Interview. This isn't just any interview. This is your opportunity to showcase your expertise and position yourself as a trusted expert in a one-on-one video interview hosted by Robert Cardoza, host of the nationally syndicated show Robert Cardoza Live and powered by AHA Studios. What is it? A professionally recorded video for your use. Robert Cardoza interviews you on the set where he records his show. Professional interview showcases your expertise and value, shot in a state-of-the-art studio. And what's in it for you? Gain credibility as an expert, earn the trust of your target market, educate in a way that intrigues your audience, gain a powerful marketing tool that offers dozens of uses, website, video sharing sites, social media, email, DVDs, direct mail, lobby video, resumes, profile building, all that kind of stuff. Association with the nationally syndicated celebrity. That's right. And let's talk about AHA Studios. AHA is a strategic marketing firm that leverages the powerful and visual persuasion to help your business create powerful messages that connect with your target market. AHA ventures way beyond strategy, delivering the marketing collateral you need to start driving a new business through your doors. AHA has a full-service, in-house, state-of-the-art production studio to bring your messages to life using video. Discover how to make The Interview work for you. Call 949-831-2222. That's 949-831-2222. AHA Image Studios Incorporated. Dr. Stephen Tidwell, Gentle Family Dentistry in a caring, personalized environment. Here at Dr. Tidwell's office, we are dedicated to helping you keep your teeth healthy. We are a state-of-the-art dental practice that still believes in traditional values, such as excellent customer service and individual attention. We have a special welcoming offer for you for just $39, a complete exam, personal consultation, professional cleaning, and all necessary x-rays. That's a $266 value for $39. Dr. Tidwell has 2 convenient locations and experienced staff to provide you with professional care and personal attention that you deserve. Call today. Don't delay. A great smile another day. Call 909-944-7308. That's 909-944-7308 for Rancho Cucamonga or San Bernardino. Joel Saltzman is Dr. Wireless. He has turned his considerable expertise into consumer credit risk and wireless security into a highly specialized independent web-based consulting enterprise targeting consumer credit risk analysis and wireless transactional security and monitoring. He works as a wireless analyst, veteran independent agent, and consumer liaison for most wireless telecom carriers and equipment manufacturers. For more than 20 years, corporate and private clients and media audiences have counted on his unvarnished advice while weighing the technology, performance, and cost differences between Sprint, Nextel, AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile. Joel specializes in setting up mobile wireless hotspots to be used for disaster preparedness, business continuity, and mobile wireless merchant processing solutions. Call Dr. Wireless at 310-400-4900 or go to his webpage at drwireless.com. Again, call 310-400-4900 or his webpage at drwireless.com. You'll be glad you did. And now, back to our show.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. And you know what time it is? It's time for our tribute to the late, great Paul Harvey and the rest of the story. Yes, sir. You know what? The American Broadcasting Company calls him the biggest voice in America. He's Paul Harvey, and each week, millions of listeners, viewers, and readers await the unraveling of the mysteries of events and the lives of people past and present. Heard on over 1,400 radio stations, seen on 110 television stations, and read in over 300 newspapers. The rest of the story has for years been exploring the byways of history with revelations that are intriguing, amusing, and surprising. Well, as I said, today's story, no coward. Well, here we go. He was no coward. He was a spy. He was the man from Intrepid. During World War II, Intrepid was the code name for Winston Churchill's director of espionage, a man whose real name was William Stephenson. His true identity was known by the enemy, and there was nothing that they could do. Those students of international intrigue will certainly remember Stephenson's brilliant contribution to the Allied cause. They may not recall another fellow, one of Stephenson's star spies, the man from Intrepid. This particular agent began his undercover career rather late in the war, and perhaps his most formidable mission was convincing everyone that he was qualified. First and most difficult to convince of this was Winston Churchill himself. The man from Intrepid spent an interminable time in the Prime Minister's office trying to impress Churchill with his ideas and his credentials. He would not be an undercover agent as such, the man from Intrepid explained. He would not be one of those mysterious-looking characters with high black boots and sinister smiles. He would not rely on a false beard nor invisible ink. His handwriting was quite confusing enough when visible, he said. No, the man from Intrepid would simply be himself. Fluent in Spanish, he could cover the supposedly neutral Latin American countries. There, the Germans were actively preparing their campaigns against the United States. He would play the coward with a capital C, and thereby, hopefully, the enemy would pay little attention to him. Churchill listened, eventually acquiesced. The man from Intrepid was on his way. Well, first stop, New York, a meeting with spy coordinator Stephenson. There was much technical information to be absorbed in a very short time. The man from Intrepid quickly became an expert. The Allies were depending on him. Surprisingly, few Americans knew what he was up to, only the elite of the intelligence network. With the United States senators, the man from Intrepid discussed the war effort. Not one of them realized that he was a spy, outwardly belittling the Allied attempts at espionage that he sought to throw everyone off his trail. And the subterfuge was successful. From there, the man from Intrepid traveled abroad. With direct access to influential figures in the so-called neutral countries, he collected opinions, planted rumors. The slightest trace of political unrest was reported. Gradually, the perplexing puzzle of the Nazi underground came together. Tiny things are the stuff of intelligence, the man from Intrepid once said. The smallest details fit into a big picture. It was in the assembly of these details that the man from Intrepid displayed his genius. Intrigue was intriguing him. He could have made a lifetime career as a spy. He did not. And you would recognize his name, as everyone did, but you wouldn't have imagined that he had it in him. His true profession was so dissimilar to his true nature, apparently so unspy-like. When he sang his own witty lyrics on the stage, you applauded. When he acted in the plays that he had written, you laughed. He gave us 281 songs, including Someday I'll Find You, I'll See You Again, Mad Dogs and Englishmen. As an author of drawing room comedy, the man with the blithe spirit wrote Blithe Spirit. The celebrity with the private life wrote Private Lives. You might have thought him to be gentle, or perhaps a bit timid. But now you know that he was a coward, in name only. Noel Coward. And he was the rest of the story. Wow. Wasn't that something? Yeah, amazing. Well, you know what? On Monday's show, we're going to do our tribute to the late, great Paul Harvey. And Monday's story is going to be pigeon problem. Yeah, you're going to want to hear it. You know, all these stories have a unique and wonderful ending. You don't want to miss them. Now, on Monday, we'll have Jon Matthews and Joe Hakels here. We'll be talking about conservative politics and more. There's a lot of information and news about politics, that's for sure. I'll be talking to John Hanson, that little wine drinker. We'll be talking about food and wine. And then I'm going to continue our tribute, like I said, to the late, great Paul Harvey with the rest of the story. And I'm going to ask you to please tell all your friends about my show here on the RLC Broadcasting Network. You'll be glad they did. They'll be glad they did. And I promise you, I'll be glad you did too.
That's our show for today. Beginning today, treat everyone you meet as if they were going to be dead by midnight. Extend them all the care, kindness, and understanding that you can muster. Your life will never be the same again. So many of our dreams at first seem impossible, then they seem improbable, and then when we summon the will, they soon become inevitable. You know, the real secret of happiness is to make others believe that they're the cause of it. Robert Cardoza Live is brought to you by blogtalkradio.com every Monday through Friday from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Now, go out and make it a great day. Your host has been Robert Cardoza, the technical advisor, Matchstick Digital, and your executive producer, also Robert Cardoza.